this video, we talk about needs and wants. Knowing the difference helps you decide which expenses to prioritize. Everyone's circumstances are different. Our living situation, life stage, health, income, commitments, relationships, and dreams all influence our needs and wants. What is a need for you could be a want for someone else. Needs. Everyone needs food, water, and shelter to survive. But there is so much more to life than physical survival. Having supportive relationships, a sense of purpose and belonging, and being able to contribute to the community positively influences our quality of life. Some things like a phone, internet, personal spending money, and a form of transport can be considered a need. These expenses should be built into your budget. Many of our needs are determined by things like our relationships, our health, or living situation. If you own a dog, pet food and vet bills will be a need. Or if you have family living in another part of the country, travel costs can become a need at times. Wants. Things we don't need but are nice to have, like the latest iPhone or cool shoes that you see in the shop. Or getting takeaways rather than cooking a meal at home. You get the idea. Wants are often fun and are okay to have if you can afford them. Watch what some people have to say about their needs and wants.
My needs have always been to want to be able to top up my phone and be able to keep in touch with other people, because every time I don't have a phone, people are trying to contact me all the time and I'm unable to get back to them all the time. My wants is wanting to be able to save up to be able to travel over, see somewhere to go and find my family and all that and be with them.
My needs are to live simply for the planet's sake and also to pay for my when I stop working, so I'm saving everything I can into my KiwiSaver. I walk in public transport and bike everywhere, so that's a need. And the wants, I read a lot, so I'm interested in buying some books, going to films and music and concerts and exhibitions and so on. So that's a want.
One of my needs is to save enough money for my WOF and rego payments for my car so I can drive to work every day. And one of my wants is to save enough money for art supplies.
Prioritizing our spending helps us set aside money for our needs before we spend money on wants. In the additional resource section, you'll find some case studies. In your own time, read through them and think, what would you do in that person's situation? Do you think there could be different ways to manage the upcoming expenses? If so, what are they? Are some better than others? What would work for you? Write down your needs and their cost. Then write down your income and subtract the needs. How much money is left to spend on wants? Were you surprised with what you learned about your own situation? If you realized that there is not as much to spend on wants as you thought, that's quite common. Taking an honest look at your financial situation can be hard, but it is an important step towards making positive changes. These videos are designed to give you the skills and confidence to manage your money well.
Speaking of buying things we don't need, have you ever bought something because of clever advertising? Something you didn't really need? Look at these pictures. What do you notice? Advertisers often use celebrities or models to sell their products. People we might look up to or think are beautiful. They also use stunning locations and scenes of happy people to give the impression that buying their product equals buying happiness. Many advertisers do a great job increasing sales, but they don't care if their customers can't afford the purchase. That's something only you can decide. Making good decisions is about choosing what we really need over what we want now. Advertisers draw your focus on what you may want but don't need, and then that can leave you feeling dissatisfied with your own life. A powerful way to kick that feeling is to focus on what you do have. When we struggle to see what we already have and our wants take over, we often borrow money. Let's explore what that may look like. In an ideal world, we would never have to borrow money, but that's not always avoidable. Most people will borrow money at some stage in their life. When we do have to take on debt, it's really important to know what we are committing to. That means reading the fine print and knowing your rights and obligations. It's good to know the different ways of borrowing money to make the decision that's right for you. Is there any debt that is acceptable or good? It's important to know what will happen if you borrow money to buy something using a loan instead of saving money for it. You must know the terms and conditions of a loan and how much you will pay, including fees and interest. For example, in getting a student loan, you know will enable you to study, increasing your chance of getting a well-paid job. It's a more acceptable kind of debt as long as you finish your education. Student loans are interest-free to help ease the burden of paying them back. Here's another example of a good or more acceptable debt. Imagine your fridge breaks and you don't have money for a new one. Seeking assistance from work and income to buy what you need means you'll get it now and will repay the cost over time without interest added. If you aren't eligible for work and income assistance, then a payment plan through a specific store with low interest may be your only option. Whatever you do, have a plan and stick to it to pay the debt off as quickly as possible. There are heaps of different ways to borrow money, but it should be avoided whenever possible. Most debt is not ideal, and the terms and conditions, fees, and rules of the lender can vary a great deal. Consider how much the debt will cost you. Add up all the charges like interest and admin, setup fees. Think of interest like a recurring fee that you must pay for being allowed to borrow the money while you borrow it. Have a good read of your contract before you sign it to know what you're agreeing to. Sorted.org.nz has a debt calculator under tools to help you with this. Your bill increases every month when the interest is added unless you can repay more than the minimum due. Paying interest upon interest is called compound interest. It can make the debt much bigger. If you only pay the minimum repayment asked by the lender, the debt will go on for a very long time. Think about whether your situation might change over the term of the loan. You might be able to afford the repayments now, but how secure is your income? Or is your rent likely to increase? We can't predict what will happen in the future, but thinking about it might prevent you from getting yourself in a difficult situation. That depends on the type of loan you get. You could be charged late payment fees or extra interest, and your credit rating may be negatively affected. If you get a secured loan, which is backed by collateral, for example your home or car, that item can be taken from you by the lender to use as payment towards your debt. You can see that things can spiral out of control quickly if your situation changes or if you miss a payment. In the extra resources, you'll find a scenario of a person who wasn't able to make a loan repayment. Take some time to read their story and think about what you would do in their situation.
Let's talk about ways you can deal with debt. People may find it stressful or embarrassing, but it's important not to hide it away because it only gets worse if you don't deal with it. Here are some suggestions of what you can do to start tackling your debts. Talk to your creditors. You won't be the only one in this position, and most lenders can offer you options to repay your debt. Set realistic goals for being debt-free. Write a budget and cut back where you can to free up money. It takes discipline, but making those changes will pay off. Talk to a financial mentor. They will support you in this process and can advocate on your behalf. Think about consolidating your debts into one loan. This could save money on interest payments and make it easier to manage various debts. Compare your options to make sure this is right for you. Consider using any savings or sell something to repay debt. Start with the smallest debt to get you motivated. Knowing you can tackle a smaller debt quicker gives you the motivation to keep going. Or pay off the most expensive debt, the one with the highest interest, first. Once you have paid that one off, move to the second most expensive debt. If your debt is unmanageable and you have run out of options, you might want to consider a debt repayment order, no asset procedure, or bankruptcy. In the Extra Resources section, you will find more information about these insolvency options. You will also find a document that explains some of the other debt reduction options in more detail. Debt can be difficult to deal with, but we hope this video gave you some ideas and strategies to get on top of your financial situation. If you need a little help or someone to talk to, please get in touch with us or a financial mentor in your area.